Hey everyone, it's Margie Walden here from Peace of Mind. And with gun purchases on the rise, I think the last stat I saw was like 300%. Good on you, God bless America. That makes me happy, but I also wanted to do just a quick video. I know I've done one before, it's a little bit more lengthy on firearm safety, but just kind of touching on gun safety rules and why it's important. So always want to keep guns out of reach of unauthorized persons. That's any minors in your home. Anybody that you wouldn't want to come in contact with the gun, make sure they don't have access to it. You can do that many ways. They have gun locks and safes. We're not going to go into the weeds on that, but make sure that they are inaccessible to any unauthorized person. Then I want to talk about just basic firearm safety rules that you should manage and own and have mastered before you start to introduce live fire. And those are going to be, depending on who you look to for them, everybody has their own title, what they call them. But at the end of the day, everybody pretty much agrees on all of them. And so that is basically, you're going to treat all firearms with regards to being loaded. Because how many times have you heard he or she didn't think the firearm is loaded when it comes to a firearms mishap or negligent discharge, as we like to call it. And so if you treat it as if it's loaded all the time, that's just a discipline I want you to master, right? You're always treating as with regards to being loaded. And that doesn't matter if you're handling a SIRT pistol or even a little plastic dollar store gun, right? Always treat it with regards to being loaded, and you won't go wrong with that. And it takes some work for people to do, because the next two that I'm going to ask you to master, people forget about these things, and it's like they're just 4 easy steps, or 3 depending on which flavor you want to digest. But basically, in the military, we teach treat all firearms as if they're loaded. Never point at anything you aren't willing to shoot. Can't positively identify or know what's behind. And then keep your finger off the trigger until you're on site and ready to shoot. Now, the civilian sector will break that down into 4. Sometimes you'll see it as treat all guns as if they're loaded. Always keep guns pointed in a safe direction. And then keep your finger off the trigger until you're on site and ready to shoot. And then know your target and what's beyond it, or know your threat and what's beyond it. So depending on how you want to break that down, whichever is easiest for you to remember, I want you to memorize it, but I want you to master those too. And some ways that you're going to do that is just by handling the gun, by doing some dry firing, right? So trigger discipline, that's something you can master with a squirt gun, a BB gun, even a rubber band, really. And you can actually even do it with just your hands. So pretend like you're going to drive the gun out there, squeeze the trigger, and then come up, off, and you're really teaching your body to do that muscle memory. Squeeze, up, off, come back, right? It should be really natural for your trigger to rest upon that guard along the slide rail, I should say. And that's where it should be more comfortable for you until you're on site and actually ready to shoot. Muzzle discipline, muzzle just a fancy word for the end of the barrel, right? Here's your muzzle. It's the end of your barrel where the bullet leaves. And I like to think of muzzle as your dog's muzzle or your horse's muzzle. And so maintaining muzzle discipline, or not flagging people, you'll hear it referred to as sometimes. Flagging is just simple. Think of a flag sticking out at the end of your barrel. Wherever that flag is, potentially, or that's where a round could go, and you could potentially cause harm, injury, death, all those things, right? So again, 4, 3, however you want to flavor it, but at the end of the day, treat them as if they're loaded. Keep them pointed in a safe direction, know your target, what's beyond it, and then keep that finger off the trigger until you're on site and ready to shoot. Very easier said than done. I see even some instructors that don't master this, and I'm thinking to myself, if you haven't mastered this, how are you going to enforce those disciplines in your class? And then furthermore, what are you teaching your students? Because again, monkey see, monkey do kind of thing, right? Subconsciously, you're picking up on everything that they're doing. So I'm that instructor that I simply won't flag a student, whether even if it's a plastic gun. I'm not going to come across and flag you and do that in a class. It's just not something I'll do, because it's something I don't want you to see me doing, because I feel like once you see that goes into your subconscious and you think that that's acceptable, and it's not. So in the video that I did previously, There are a lot more details on what a safe direction is, how to identify a safe direction. We even take it further, like don't catch never try to catch a falling firearm, because that would be worse than actually if you caught it and your finger got into that trigger guard and were to go off. But before you start live firing, I need you to master those basic firearm safety habits. Memorize them, understand those. Always be thinking about, where's my muzzle, where's my trigger finger, right? And what is my target and what's beyond it, so you don't get that tunnel vision and you kind of understand what's going on back there. The other thing is teaching your kids, right? So one of the things you can teach your kids, and you can have fun with it. I know that I started with my nieces very early. I'm going to say like in their 5, and I would give them little treats and rewards for memorizing the firearm safety rules. But I also taught them that if they see a gun, it's really simply stop, don't touch, and then tell a grown-up, right? And you can make this a fun little skit or dance with your kids, or however you want to do that, but it's really important that you say stop, right? Don't touch, tell a grown-up. You can make a little wiggly dance out of it or something, and so that it kind of has a little chime, and that will help them to memorize that. So and you can like even get one of these little squirt guns and maybe place it around, so we're going to play a fun little game and make a game of it or something, depending on how young and willing they are to cooperate with that. It can make it actually kind of a fun game to help them learn, because learning should be fundamental, but with regards to firearm safety, you want it to be very serious and make sure that they understand the importance too. I don't want this one to be really long, because the last one on this particular topic was, so I hope that you're all being safe out there. God bless. Take care.